A federal judge in Virginia has ordered a hearing next week after the Justice Department filed a motion Wednesday to drop its criminal case against the alleged East Coast leader of the gang known as MS-13. The government has still not given an official reason as to why it's looking to dismiss the case against Henry Viatoro Santos. However, a spokesperson for Attorney General Pam Bondi pointed to this statement that she made when he was arrested last month.
He was the leader for the East Coast, one of the top 3 in the entire country, right here in Virginia, living half an hour outside of Washington, D.C., and he will not be living in our country much longer.
Viatoro Santos was taken into custody on March 27th, with the federal government saying there was an administrative immigration warrant for his arrest. The 24-year-old was charged with illegal possession of a firearm after several weapons were found in his home in Virginia. For more on this, let's bring in CBS News Justice correspondent Scott MacFarlane. And Scott, the Justice Department appears to be implying that it will deport him, which is maybe why it dropped the cases, or the charges, I should say, against him. His attorneys have asked a judge to delay the dismissal of his case. So a lot to digest here. What more can you tell us about that?
The Department of Justice and the administration facing a lot of questions about this tonight. This is an unexpected twist in a very high-profile case. I mean, the U.S. Attorney General, the director of the FBI, invited the media and had a national press conference to announce this arrest, saying Mr. Viatoro Santos is a leader of the MS-13 transnational gang, an East Coast top dog in the violent gang. They charged him with a federal count of unlawful possession of a firearm, but they try to dismiss this case if it's to expedite the deportation. That is a break from the practices of the Department of Justice. Nancy, if this is a violent criminal who has wreaked havoc nationwide, traditionally you'd have a criminal case so that the victims could have their day in court and get some justice. And what's more, if you don't bring the case to court, all the allegations made at the news conference need not be backed up or proven. If a deportation happens without due process, there's no need to prove the allegations made. So there are questions about why this is being done, but unequivocally, the Department of Justice wants this done. They want the case off the books.
Scott, a federal judge also ruled on Thursday that the Trump administration can continue with a requirement that every illegal immigrant in the United States must register with the federal government. So what is that reasoning behind there?
Yeah, that's for now, and it's a pretty narrow decision from the judge, Nancy. The judge here in Washington, D.C., Trevor McFadden, among other things, said there wasn't proper standing for those who brought the lawsuit. What does that mean? It means it's not the proper party to make the challenge. It was a interest group, an activist group on behalf of immigrants in the United States. The judge is saying you don't have proper standing. It's not the right time for this suit to be brought, or at least the integrity of the suit isn't right with this party. That all being said, there's a February ruling issued by the Department of Homeland Security that those over the age of 14 in the country unlawfully must register with the federal government. The judge is opening the door for that to happen. The actual rule takes effect tomorrow. But there's almost certain to be an appeal here or a new legal challenge brought by different people with a different level of standing. This all feels very tenuous.
Yes, it does. And Scott, a federal judge ordered or held a brief hearing Thursday morning on the high-profile security leak, of course, involving several Trump administration officials on the messaging app Signal. What happened there? What did you hear from it?
Well, you need a really good spreadsheet to keep track of all these lawsuits. Thankfully, we have one. This is the Signal lawsuit. You'll recall that whole controversy. Members of the Trump National Security Team exchanging messages about military activities on the Signal app. Some groups sued, saying that doesn't follow federal records law, doesn't follow federal records practices. That lawsuit is pending in Washington, D.C. The judge is still going to hear some more arguments about that. But you can see the baseline issue here, Nancy, which is that if there's going to be communication by Trump administration officials, especially about military matters, there should be a paper trail. It shouldn't happen on Signal. To be continued on the Signal lawsuits that are pending here in Washington.
We know you'll keep that spreadsheet updated, Scott. There's also an update on that note in the case of pro-Palestinian activist and former Columbia University student Mahmoud Khalil. What is the latest there?
There's a back and forth on several fronts involving students taken from college campuses or staff taken from college campuses in America. The Trump administration is making the argument in this case of Mr. Khalil that it was a violation of federal regulations in his case that merits the deportation. But you can just see all these cases now blossoming where students who've been removed or arrested for possible deportation are going to argue there may be some First Amendment rights violations, that they're being kicked out for their political speech, allegedly, not for anything more. This is going to be a long-standing legal battle for the students who've been, so far in the Trump administration, poised for removal.
Scott MacFarlane, thank you.